Back in 2022, we had a crazy year on YouTube where the manosphere exploded. You'll remember when the Tate brothers popped off everywhere. Hamza was talking about things. Liver King as well, oh man, that was such a funny time. And many people loathed it. It was very controversial. But there was a certain group of us, and by us I mean some people with autism, like me, who were able to be impartial and actually separate the good from the bad and appreciate the good parts of the masculinity movement. And in this video I'd like to explain why it appealed to us, and also why this did, unfortunately for society, create a lot of Tate clones who would spam his message everywhere and just be insufferable humans. So why did the masculinity and manosphere space appeal to us so much? Well, I think it would be best to explain this from a personal experience and how the good parts of the masculinity movement shaped my life for the better so that I can take more control and charge on my life and be more helpful to the people around me and who I love. Because some things that the Tate brothers were saying were actually pretty good for men. So let's go all the way back to 2022. Let's go back to March. That's when I turned 18 and I was about to start a whole new life, my adult life. Now, I wasn't really lost at this stage or anything, but this is when I naturally started to develop quite a big interest in meditation and mindfulness in order to take charge of my own thoughts and take charge of my own life. And so I took a program that my school offered called Discover to further explore my mind and start mental health practices. I also started attending a meditation clinic at age 17 and a half. And so naturally I discovered Hamza, one of the perpetrators of the manosphere, who is going stronger than ever right now. And Hamza was making videos on mental health. He had some videos on sleep meditation and he'd created some himself. He recommended an app called the Medito app, and he recommended doing 5 minutes a day, maybe 10 minutes a day, but the key is consistency here. So you want to do 5 minutes if that's all you can do, if you want to make it a daily habit and not burn out. So I did that. And I thought, damn, actually, this is pretty good. By then I had not entered the manosphere and I was still anticipating that day. And then Hamza started to talk about the Tate brothers in August 2022. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. I didn't take much interest in the Tates because they weren't really my thing back then. But then I started listening to their messages. I was like, men must work hard. Men must pursue their passion relentlessly and hit the areas they love with high energy. And I was like, damn, I love that. Now I had a clearer mind. I thought, let's combine this with the meditation skills, sit down, improve my workouts, diet, and increase my testosterone by doing these. And lo and behold, the moments that were previously perceived as boredom because I didn't have any stimulation devices became moments of bliss. I could just look out my window and think, wow, nature is wonderful. And it was the start of an amazing journey, truly. Then Hamza started talking about a book called The Way of the Superior Man. And this book focused on taking the best sides of the traditional masculine man and the modern masculine man and take the best traits to become a loving partner to a wife, to a girlfriend or lover, and expand your horizons. And the key takeaways were that you should not be too emotional like a modern man, but you should also not be too cold like the traditional man. Because back then, even though the man was the hard work and the breadwinner, he wasn't very loving towards his wife, and the love she gave to him wasn't reciprocated back in an equal manner or greater manner. And I thought, wow, my autistic interest in history and sociology has peaked here. It's like these lessons we learned back then apply to the real world now in our own relationships. There's a good reason the masculinity movement arose, you know. It's because divorce rates had never been higher. The percentage of single mothers was through the roof, and people were unhappier than ever with technology and social media. And the manosphere came along as a supposed solution, which could be for the better and the worse. I've just explained the good side, so now let me explain the bad sides of the masculinity movement. Because of the way it's appealed to autistic people and they've taken it the wrong way, they've become a Tate fan, and then they start spamming the most ludicrous comments about how women should be in the kitchen and all that jazz. It's pretty bad. So unfortunately, within many autistic people who may have been bullied or have trauma, they have an innate feeling that they want to be above some other people in some regard. And the masculinity movement offered that chance for them to be above their bullies. And usually they would assert their dominance in the form of cyberbullying, maybe on Instagram comments or some other form. And then they would start harassing women and saying, oh, you should be in the kitchen or whatever, and basically just being completely emotionally incontinent, not knowing a thing about how they feel or how their hearts work. They go around thinking they're better than all the other men by telling the women around them to shut up and do the dishes. And it's really unattractive behavior. Now, it's not many of these guys' fault that they are take clones. Really, trauma and cold-hearted behavior, or maybe an anxious attachment style, are bred from childhood, from the way you were treated by your parents. So you should have sympathy for these people, because some of them have not had the best upbringing, and they've become these people who latch onto an idea that they're better than others because they were always treated badly, as an example of how someone can develop a superiority complex over others on the internet. And these are some of the underlying reasons why take clones may emerge on the internet, harass other men and women in an unhealthy, toxic way, and basically become an insufferable asshole. Overall, the masculinity movement hasn't generally made the population better or worse than they were before. What it's done is further divided the gap between the good masculine people and the bad. The good masculine people have learnt more from the good words from the Tate brothers, Hamza and others, and they use that to fuel their life and love by either buying the books that they talk about and reading them, like The Way of the Superior Man, or listening to the advice on YouTube and actually going out in the real world and implementing it. Whereas on the bad side, they've gone from insufferable to very insufferable, because all they nag about is how women should be in the kitchen and they never treated them right. And basically they start a negative feedback loop where they say something bad to a woman, the woman says something bad back to them, so he goes again and says something bad to her, and she does the same, and it repeats and it repeats. And you end up in the middle of the spiral and you can never get out. And the question I have for you is, which side of the masculinity rift do you fall on? I hope you're on the good side. Take care, thanks for listening, and see you in the next video.